Hi, I'm Milla and welcome to my little review video on the Mario Brothers movie. You know that big massive film? You might have heard of it. It came out a few days ago, at the time of recording anyway. And now it's like, oh wow, it's amazing! And all those positive buzz from the audience and the families and everyone who's gone to see it. And it's topping the charts everywhere and just being one of the biggest launches for Illumination Entertainment and Nintendo in general, and just wow and all that stuff, which I'm not going to go into there, but you know, this is going to be kind of unstructured because I just want to ramble a bit. And here's another thing, I will not make it spoiler free. I will talk about some spoilers because I don't feel I can talk about it without going to spoilers. But also, a lot of things about the film have come out since, like a lot of the references, for example. And as more people will now see the film, and as more people are going to know what the references are, I feel it's okay to talk about it more by just not having a video up straight away after it came out. And let's make the most of it. So, I was excited for this film since it was announced, but obviously as the hype drawing more close and we knew more about it, it was just like, oh my god, it looks amazing. And just having this huge sense of like, this could be something genuinely special. And that's kind of what I hoped, because, I mean, obviously I had lots of skepticism about the lead voice actor for Mario. I think it was like Chris Pratt, I think, if I remember his name, because of some of his other track record, which I'm going to largely keep out of this because I don't want to go on a tangent regarding that. It's been done to death now. But I went and saw it. First day it came out. It was in a local theatre, cinema, well, whatever. And they had IMAX. And IMAX is basically, let's make it even more immersive, have a seat with extra sounds and effects, have it be so loud, and just really aid the immersion. And that's basically what I wanted. Because I haven't actually been to the cinema in years. I think the last film I went and saw in the cinema was, and this is going to be slightly embarrassing depending on who you ask, the Captain Underpants adaptation. So if anyone remembers the Captain Underpants, the whole tra-la-la-la, that film from DreamWorks, of Dave Pilkey's books, that was a good film. That wasn't in IMAX as far as I remember, but this one is. And so, but obviously this one's going to be a lot better. So for those who don't know, it was made by Nintendo and Illumination Entertainment. It's part of their partnership with Universal, and they've done the theme parks, Nintendo Land in Tokyo and soon to be America. Shigeru Miyamoto himself is managing a lot of this external stuff of Universal, the theme parks and the film. He's literally a co-director, and also he did Pikmin 4, but that's basically all he's been doing video game wise aside from the Universal stuff is Pikmin 4. And it's worth it because you can kind of tell that this was a film that Miyamoto put his touch on, and just everywhere, and just having that in IMAX. So I feel like I'm just going completely off track. And if I keep doing that, it's because I love this film and it's hard not to ramble it. And there's a spoiler for the review. That's it. We don't have to listen to this video anymore. Just get off. End. I'm joking, really. I've got a lot more to say. I think the best way for me to describe how I felt when I left about a general summary of the movie would be basically a retailing of the Mario Brothers origin story. Like how they came to the Mushroom Kingdom and how they saved the world and became like the nemesis of Bowser and stuff like that. And it's really like rooted in the old Mario Brothers Super Show. And for those who don't know, that was, it was a cartoon and a live action thing. I never saw the live action stuff, but I did see the cartoons because there were originally animated shows based on Super Mario Bros. 3 and then Super Mario World. You know, the whole Mama Luigi meme that originated from the Mario Brothers Super Show. And I watched those as a kid and I really liked them. Wasn't my first exposure to Mario, just heads up, it's not, but it always told me that there's a lot of potential for Mario to actually be depicted well in cinema. I don't know much about the Mario Brothers film, the one that's considered to be really bad. I've not watched it, but I know it exists. And I know there's also a Mario porn film which Nintendo had to buy the rights from in order to stop distributing it. So technically that's not a Mario film, but it was a Mario film. But yeah, so basically the story of this film is basically Mario and Luigi started playing business in Brooklyn, and then when trying to fix a massive leak, they end up finding a green warp pipe into the Mushroom Kingdom. And from there, they get split up in transit. Luigi goes to the Darklands, Mario goes to the Mushroom Kingdom. And since then, they have to basically go, okay, I'm Mario, I need to go and save my brother, and he ends up teaming up with Princess Peach and Toad and later Donkey Kong and the Kong Kingdom, and then it just goes from there to stop Bowser, who has taken the superstar and wants to basically get Princess Peach to marry him. That's basically the story. It's fine. It's a kids film. It's a Mario series. Mario games, with a few exceptions, like Super Mario Galaxy and many of the RPG spin-offs, they're not rooted in story. Like, it doesn't need a heavy story to be successful, because Mario games at their core have always been about gameplay and about the action and about the engagement, and that's basically the vibe I got from the film. And I think the first thing I really loved was that when I started watching the film in the cinema, one of the first things that did appear was the Mario commercial, which literally was done in the marketing. This commercial was redone for the film, was based on the original Super Show that appeared in it, and yeah, that was so cool. I think one of the things that I loved, especially as a Nintendo fan, watching the film, when I was watching it, I was like, oh, what's going to get referenced next? Because I knew there'd be loads of references, like the marketing footage and stuff that was disclosed before made it apparent that there was going to be loads of references for Nintendo fans, and that was something I was on the lookout when I was watching the film, like, what's going to appear next? There's going to be references, and that was like, I loved that so much, and like, I'm going to go into some of them because there was loads I really liked, and like, even if you've only played a few new Mario games, you probably will recognise some references, which I think is extremely cool. So big ones for me that I spotted and really liked were things like, in terms of references I really liked, there are things like the Mario Kart customization, so literally like, you can put carts together at one point in the film before you go out onto the tracks, and it just felt like you're preparing for Mario Kart, which I loved. The time when the Bowser's Fury theme, the theme when in that particular game when Bowser becomes evil and starts attacking, that song plays and it's just taken straight from the game, and I love that so much. And of course there's sort of things like the Yoshi's Island on the map, Donkey Kong Island, and seeing a dark world and just having a little world map, kind of reminiscent of an RPG map from Dragon Quest and other things like that, but no, it's a big 3D map for Nintendo. And recreating stages, like 1-1 from Super Mario Bros. Was recreated in Brooklyn quite early on in the film. Super Mario 3D World style stages in the Mushroom Kingdom were like done, like there was that teaser stage behind Peach's castle that Mario had to just complete the course for. That was the most obvious one. But things like when Toad takes you through the kingdom and hop across those platforms, that was something that was so cool. And then it's just things like that, and then even smaller ones, so things like the crazy cap shot from Odyssey appeared, Bowser's wedding outfit also appeared in Odyssey, Ludwig von Koopa on the keyboard, what Bowser was playing the song on, also appeared. Other key phrases like "Let's a go" and "It's on" like Donkey Kong, and also things that are more like subtle, so things like Mario and Donkey Kong starting off as antagonists in the game, like when they had that match, and then later becoming allies, and then that was so cool. Like, if you think of Mario nowadays and you think of Donkey Kong, you think of it as Donkey Kong being more of an ally character than an enemy. And I really liked how that take was done. And I loved it so much. There's also all the non-Nintendo stuff as well, because there were some of these I missed. But things like, well, Foreman Spike from the Wrecking Crew, this is a very old NES game. That was really cool to see such an obscure reference there. The Punch-Out Diner, which was right at the start, that's the film that appears. And then Mario himself playing the original Kid Icarus on the NES. Even things like in Mario and Luigi's room, I saw references to likes of the Odyssey shit from Mario Odyssey. Now that was really cool. And little things like that I just really loved, and just felt like this was a film where they put a lot of details into it, and I really like that. Like, I just thought that was like, just lovely. But yeah, music in general, the music's been released for streaming. Most of it was used in the film in an obvious way. There were a few licensed tracks as well, like Take On Me by a-ha and Holding Out for a Hero by Bonnie Tyler, like the latter of which is associated with Shrek 2 and the scene near the end with the fairy godmother, but here it was basically used. If I remember correctly, it was going through Donkey Kong Kingdom, or DK Island. Now that was a really cool scene. And apparently when the music was revealed, one of the songs was actually a rearrangement of 2 Donkey Kong Country songs by David Wise, and apparently that might have been meant to have been used there but then taken out at the last minute to be replaced with the licensed track. And some people didn't like that. For me, like, I felt the use of Take On Me was actually really good. And also, I'd say that using the licensed track as a whole was a good thing, because, well, they're licensed tracks. Like, it's something you normally find in films. And I think a lot of people were like, when they were looking at that and saw that in a negative way, they were thinking that, oh, but this is a Mario thing, so the whole track should be original. But like, no, this is a film. Of course, films are going to have things like this. And secondly, a film is meant to be an adaptation of another property when it comes to adaptation-based films. And in the case of Mario, it's adapting a video game. And so, of course, you're going to have things like that where there's going to be, well, remixes of amazing game songs. There was basically a lot of tracks are based by songs originally done by Koji Kondo, but they were reorchestrated. That's a really cool reference. Put a mix and just blend it in together, and that I thought that fit so well. And then you get other things like Jack Black, who voices Bowser, did a original composition for the film, basically a piano improvised solo called Peaches, where he basically sings about his love for Peach in the role of Bowser. That's the kind of thing you would not find in a Mario game. Like, this kind of adaptations in films. There's a kind of thing that would only really be done if it was adapting a film primarily made by a Western studio. And that I loved as well. That was so cool. I just loved it. Like, it just flowed so well, and not much story, but that's fine. Animation wise was really good. I loved the turning of the roles, so Peach is the heroine and you go with Peach and Toad to save Luigi rather than you and Luigi and Toad going to save Peach. That's very much like a new take on an old formula. One thing I thought was kind of odd though was one of the characters that appears in the film is Luma, who's very more like nihilist, and especially because Luma spends most of the film being captured in Bowser's castle, which is basically a massive floating fortress, kind of like in 3D World as well, or the Galaxy Reactor from Super Mario Galaxy 2, and that was cool. And there's like, but you see Luma but not Rosalina, which I thought was really weird, but it's still cool to see Luma there as well. And just, yeah, I loved it so much. I know this isn't going to be the best structured video, but I wanted to talk about it, like, ramble a bit, because I'm going to touch on a bit about what I want to see in a sequel, because let's be frank, there's going to be a sequel. This film has sold so well, there's going to sell even more when the soundtrack releases, because I Am 8-Bit are doing the soundtrack, which I think says a lot that a company like I Am 8-Bit are doing the soundtrack physically. Just to add in, a Deadline have reported that the Mario Bros. Movie has a projected 5-day global opening of 368 million. International box office portion of that is estimated at $173 million from 70 markets. Biggest animated opening of all time globally, ahead of Frozen 2. The biggest Illumination opening of all time. Biggest animation opening of all time when excluding China, just 13% behind Frozen 2 in terms of the number 2 biggest animated start ever for Hollywood. Biggest video game opening of all time, passing Warcraft at $210 million reported and in similar markets. Number 4 biggest Universal day and date global opening of all time, with fast behind Fast and Furious, Jurassic World and Fast and Furious 7, Fast and Furious 8 just to clarify. And the biggest overseas opening of 2023 ahead of Ant-Man and Wasp Quantumania. Biggest animated opening of all time behind Frozen 2 overseas. Illumination's best start ever overseas. And the biggest Universal day and date opening of all time behind Fast and Furious 8, Jurassic World and Fast and Furious 7 overseas. All this positive sales news and just the fact that audiences love it, and it's probably going to end up winning some films at the Oscars and stuff like that when that happens, and when film season comes around, it's going to happen. Even if you don't want it to, it will happen. Also, I was like so happy with the film, and things I want to see in an expansion would be more characters, both heroines and, well, heroes and enemies, not just heroines. Daisy, and Toadette, and Rosalina, of course. And I put Pauling in my script, but it turned out Pauling appeared as the mayor of Brooklyn in the film as a cameo, which I didn't see. Which was a cool touch. But I think Pauline taking an active role would be really cool, especially after Pauline returned in New Donk City in Odyssey, which I really loved. Other things for villains, well, Koopalings, bringing them back properly, and Bowser, maybe some SMB2 villains, and maybe also the bunny people from Odyssey. I forgot their names. I feel like the bunnies, or the enemy bunnies, you know, the ones you fight, those enemies. Something like that, and just maybe bring back Wart as well, that'd be really cool. And other things as well, I put things like Yoshi taking an active role, not just a reference. And this was before I found out about the post-credit scene, because I was so overstimulated when I watched the film, I left before the post-credits. Like, I saw the midpoint one, but not the post one. And that one apparently had Yoshi's an egg starting to crack, and basically alluding to the fact that in future movies there will be Yoshi appearing, which is already really cool. And that's something that I'm looking forward to, because, you know, Mario movie is going to become a franchise. It's going to become a big deal because it is a big deal. I know it's anticlimactic, but it's basically, once again, Nintendo setting a new standard for video game licensing films, and seeing everyone love it means they're going to be working on a sequel, and I can't wait for them to make this sequel, because it's going to be cool. And I'm going to go back, and just like this movie, assuming it goes really well, which I doubt, I strongly believe it will anyway, because even outside of the Mario movie, I really did enjoy the Despicable Me films from Illumination Entertainment, so I have confidence that they'll be able to do a good job there, and just hopefully cry happy tears again, because that was basically a lot of how I felt during the film, having happy tears and just really enjoying what was a fantastic little, well, it is a product, but also a work of art, and that's how I feel. And yeah, do I recommend going? 100% yes. If you haven't watched it already, please do. It's amazing. Don't expect it to be a really deep work, but expect it to be a very, very faithful Mario adaptation with a lot of references for the fans, and a lot more I've not mentioned as well. There's one like the GameCube startup song appears at one point with Luigi answers a phone, and just little things like that. It's just like a lot of love put into it, and I cannot wait to see where this goes and wait for part 2, because it's coming. And I've gone on for a while, and I'll end up repeating myself a fair bit, so if there's any cuts in this video, it's because I've had to cut out redundant stuff. But you know, thank you so much for listening to this ramble video. Please like, comment, subscribe, check out the links in the description below, notification bell. Thank you so much, bye bye.